Here we go. Yeah, Mick looks good.
Oh, yeah. Come on, Winnipeg.
Yeah.
Oh!
This theme was so good. I'm glad we get to play it again on Chum.
Scotty's up. Scotty's up, and he's talking tough. Scotty's up. Scotty's up, and he's off the cuff. The Bomber's talking tough. Every Tuesday, Thursday, Scotty's up. Scotty's up.
There it is right there. That's how you do it, folks. That's the, what a song that is. Stones are so good.
Good morning.
Good morning. I am looking for a very vibrant Scotty Taylor.
Yeah, it was a late one last night.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I had to go out to the Junior B provincial final, and it was in Peguis First Nation.
Ooh.
I missed that NHL game, and
Road trip.
I'm just kidding.
So,
I have people to do those games.
oh, you have people now. Wow.
I have people now. I actually have people now.
Good
I never thought I'd start a business at 60, let alone have people at 68.
Yeah. What kind of people are these? Where are you finding these people?
They're young writers who can't get work because newspapers are dead.
Yeah, no kidding.
Exactly.
No kidding.
Oh, no, that's what they all are. A lot of guys that used to be at the Free Press.
Well, but look at the industry. I mean,
it's dead.
It is, and I guess I figure if you're going to, I mean, it's all web based. Is that what we're saying? Is that where people?
Well, it's all web based, but what also happened is that we've been really successful because if you publish something that people will keep, so if you publish something that's quality that people will save, you can make money at it. But a newspaper is you pick it up, you throw it away, right?
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, people don't need to do that anymore. People can just go online, look at it, and move on.
You know, even when you insult someone and say, "Oh yeah, well that paper's good to line my birdcage with," the younger generation goes, "What does that mean? What do you have birds in your house? What?" It's like, yeah, just walk away, leave it alone.
And you know what the last guys left in the business are saying? Good, buy it to line the birdcage. We need to sell all the papers we can sell.
Well, Scotty, last night we saw the whiteout, and I could be wrong, but I've said for years, I am pretty sure that the Winnipeg Jet crowd, they're the ones who came out with the whiteout. I don't think it started in the States. I don't.
Oh, it did not. No, it started in Winnipeg with a guy named Rod Paulson. And Rod Paulson today runs curling. He's the guy who just did the Vegas curling tournament. He's a PR guy. He's been in the ad business in Winnipeg for 40 years. And Rod Paulson, with Barry Shankarow and Laurie Summers, Lyle Moffat, a group of the people who used to work for the old Jets, came up with the whiteout. Because in those days, remember, the home team used to wear white.
Yes. Yeah, in the good days,
So-
yes.
Yeah. So the whiteout was started basically by an ad guy in Winnipeg. And it was, and then when the Jets left, of course, everybody just took it because the Jets don't exist anymore. Who cares? We'll all steal it. But it started in Winnipeg in the 80s.
You just said something that I thought I'd never hear in one sentence. Do you want to know what it is?
Sure.
Vegas curling. Those two words I did not see in the same sentence
amazing, eh?
ever.
But they've been down there for a lot of years. It's become a big deal down there.
Well, there's drinking involved. So
Well, yeah, there's that. And pretty soon there's going to be gambling.
Oh, yeah. I know. Hey, a buddy of mine, Jeremy Piesaker, one of the reasons he's with Sports Interaction is because they put curling.
Yes, they do. They have curling odds.
Yeah, so,
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now let's talk about last night. Of course, Dave, obviously being the Winnipeg expert, just from me, an outsider taking a look at it, I thought that you saw a Winnipeg Jet team that probably played a little tight, didn't play their best game, and you saw a Minnesota Wild team without a guy of significance and a goaltender in Devin Dubnyk that just stood on his head. Therefore, the game looked closer than maybe really what this is.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
You didn't hear me at all?
I can't. No, my ears have completely been blown out, and now it just died this morning.
Oh.
Last night was so loud. That crowd was so loud in that building. It got to 108 decibels when Laine scored.
Wow.
Winnipeg should have won that game 9-2. And you were right about Dubnyk standing on his head. I was sitting beside one of the scouts last night who said, I don't know why they just can't go first star Dubnyk, second star Dubnyk, third star Dubnyk.
Yeah.
Because if it wasn't for that goaltender, it would have been a complete blowout. They outshot him 40-20, and I think the NHL shot guys were actually good to Minnesota. The Wild only got the puck out of their own end about 4 times in the third period and scored twice. It was just one of those games where you knew it was going to end in Winnipeg's favor. Somehow there was going to be a fluke, and they got the fluke. Morrow takes the shot, it deflects off a Wild player and goes between Dubnyk's wickets, and they lose. And I thought it was interesting that Bruce Boudreau got all upset at the goal. I mean, he should have been counting his blessings. He's lucky he didn't get just bombed last night.
Yeah.
He owes his goaltender.
Because I look at Game 2, I think that, okay, it's nice to get the win for the Winnipeg Jets. You move on to Game 2, but I don't think there's going to be a game this close for the rest of the series if this is what these two teams have to offer throughout the next 3-4 games.
Oh, I completely agree with you. I picked the Jets in 5, and now I'm thinking 4, because that looked last night to be Minnesota's chance.
Yep.
Granted, no Ryan Suter makes a huge difference. You can't take a 27-minute defenseman out of a game and expect your team to be the same. And Matthew Dumba, I love him to death. I think he's a tremendous player. He's going to have a marvelous future in the National Hockey League. But Matthew Dumba last night played, what?
Close to 30 minutes, Scott. I think it was 28 and change. Yep.
30 minutes and 3 seconds.
There you go.
And Matt Dumba's a nice player, but he's not Ryan Suter. So they've got real issues. If Dubnyk's that good, the games can be close, but I can't imagine a goaltender doing that again. I get the feeling that Friday night it's going to be a big number, and then Winnipeg will go into Minnesota where the crowd will be terrific. Probably sneak one in Game 3 and then win another big one in Game 4, and we'll all be going home.
Yeah. Now, as far as what the Jets had going on, I know Donald Street right beside the arena was closed down. It almost looked like even, and this is hard to say, this was even a better atmosphere than that first game against the Ducks back in Game 3 2 years ago. Is it just the little changes that have made this even more of a destination as far as the entire city's into this, Scott? It's not just a portion of the sports crowd in Winnipeg. It almost seems that the city is shut down for Games 1, 2, possibly 5 and 7.
In 2015, I think people were just happy that the Jets finally made the playoffs. There were no expectations. There was no thought that the 2015 team was going to go anyplace, that they were the last team in, and Anaheim took them out in 4 straight, and there wasn't the same feeling. Yeah, the Jets are in the playoffs. This is great. And, by the way, they led every game in that series in the third period and couldn't hold on.
Yeah.
But they were a completely different hockey team then, and they were still, in many ways, with so many of those players, the Atlanta Thrashers. They still had so many ex-Atlanta Thrashers. It just still didn't feel the same. 3 years later, Mark Scheifele's a star, Patrick Laine's a star, Nick Ehlers is a star. Chevy makes a good move to get a journeyman defenseman like Morrow, who's played terrifically. Jake Trouba's now a star. There's only 4 former Thrashers on the team. This is Winnipeg's team. Combine that with the fact they had 114 points, they won 11 of their last 12. There is a belief in this city, and it runs deep in this city, that if the Jets can get past the Nashville Predators in the second round, they can win the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
And that feeling has never been in Winnipeg since maybe 1985, when that 84-85 team was so good, and if they could beat the Edmonton Oilers, they might win the Stanley Cup, and then they broke Howard Chuck's ribs and everything kind of collapsed.
I hate Jamie McCowan. Yep.
But the reality is that this team right now has the imagination of everybody in Winnipeg. It's a team that people in this city believe can win the Cup, that they're not just pretenders, that they're a legitimate contender for the Stanley Cup, and everybody is with bated breath for that series with Nashville, which I think for sure they're going to get. If Nashville gets knocked off, wow. That would change everything in a hurry. No, it wouldn't change everything. It would just make everything bigger. And I think there's a real belief that they're going to beat whoever comes out of the West, and there's a belief they can beat anybody from the East. there's just this fear of Nashville. But other than that, this city believes this team can win the Stanley Cup, and boy, it has changed everything in this town.
Well, there's no way that they're losing to Colorado. If Nashville loses to Colorado, then you can tell me that Cindy Crawford's from Edmonton. Okay? That's. By the way, we're talking to Scott Taylor, editor of Game On Magazine, gameonmag.ca, our very good friend. It counts when you've been there beforehand. So I take a look at, the Nashvilles of the world because, I really think it's theirs to lose in terms of the Stanley Cup. But I also take a look at Pittsburgh where they're very comfortable in their own skin because where they have been, the kind of team they are. And boy, did Philadelphia, did they get filled in last night. I think Dave and I both have Pittsburgh going to a Stanley Cup final, but this might be the biggest blowout that we'll see in the entire postseason. I just did not see a 7-0, although there were some very unkind Brian Elliott comments yesterday on the program, including Liam McGuire, who roasted him like a Swiss chalet chicken.
I wonder how that felt. Philadelphia isn't in the same league as Pittsburgh yet. I think Philadelphia will get there someday, but they're not even anywhere near the Pittsburgh Penguins. How about that goal by Crosby again, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Man, he should be playing lacrosse, that guy.
Dave said the Blue Jays.
True. Why not? I mean, it tremendously skilled. They have so many skilled players, that Pittsburgh team. Their goaltending's pretty good, but Philadelphia isn't in their league. I'm good friends with Nolan Patrick. I love Nolan Patrick. I love the team. They're not good enough. They're not getting by that. But you hit the nail on the head with Nashville. They're the team that I think is coming back from last year's defeat with a chip on its shoulder, and really is the team that everybody has to watch because, no, I don't think they're going to get beat by Colorado. I don't think that's going to happen. And I think that everybody, as much as we all love the Jets and think it's a great story, and we all love the Leafs and thinks that's a great story, I think generally the experts around the National Hockey League all believe it's going to be Pittsburgh and Nashville again.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, speaking of the Maple Leafs game, they start off tonight in Boston. There's obviously in this city, there's some hope that the Toronto Maple Leafs could pull that upset as well. What's the reality of that situation, Scotty? What is the proper breakdown of Bruins and Maple Leafs starting tonight?
Well, we just had the Bruins in this town not long ago.
Yeah.
That's a very nice team. It's as dirty a hockey team as you're ever going to see, so better keep your head up. I mean, they come to play, and they like to use their sticks, and Brad Marchand is going to make people hurt. So the Leafs had better be ready for a real physical battle with that club. I think everybody believes that Toronto has a chance. I mean, Boston had a tremendous second half of the season, like just out of this world second half of the season. I don't think there's the belief that they're that good, although when they came into Winnipeg, they lost 5-4 in overtime, had built a big lead, and Winnipeg came back and tied it. They're a real nice skating team. It's going to be a fast series. I think the hockey is going to be tremendous, but I certainly think Toronto has a chance against them. I think anybody who thinks that the Leafs can't beat Boston probably hasn't been paying attention. Everybody needs to stay healthy now. This is almost a bigger marathon than the regular season. Every game matters. Every shift matters. You have a bad shift, you can lose a series. Toronto just has to be prepared for everything. They have to be prepared for everything. They need great goaltending, as everybody does. What was it that Brian Burke once said? We have to call it the Stanley Cup playoffs because we can't call it goalie.
Yeah.
You're going to need goaltending, and that's going to be really important. But I think that could be, I mean, really the best series of the bunch in the first round.
Yeah, I think
those teams match up pretty nicely. They have skills. They're fast. They generally good goaltending, good defense. I think it's going to be a great series.
Yeah, I think it will be a great series, too. The other thing, of course, if we're talking about tight series, and Dave and I have talked about it on the show, it's going to be really interesting. Anaheim and San Jose, that could be a 7-gamer right there.
Big teams, not real fast. Been out west a couple of times to see the California teams. None of them are what I would call as fast as Eastern teams. It's not like you're going to see Pittsburgh, Boston, or Toronto out there. These teams are big. The defenses are big. The goaltending's pretty good. There'll be a lot of hitting. It'll be a pounding series because that's the way the two teams play. You will notice the difference in speed if you watch it closely. They're just not as fast as some of these other clubs. Certainly not Boston, Toronto, Winnipeg. They're not in those leagues. But it's going to be a really tight series simply because they both play the same kind of banging, pounding game.
What's your schedule look like, Scotty? I know the Jets play on Friday, but you're making the trip to St. Paul, from what I understand.
Yeah, we'll head out to St. Paul on Saturday. There's supposed to be a really bad storm. I'll drive.
Oh, geez.
And get as far as I can possibly get on Saturday. Maybe we'll have to cut it off at Fargo, but we'll head south on Saturday and see what the storms are like. And we got snow here last night. It looks like Christmas in Winnipeg.
Scotty, because we have not talked since obviously the Humboldt tragedy, and of course Western Canada, not only so supportive in what they do, but the rest of the country. That GoFundMe thing is beyond my wildest imagination. Where they immediately go over 4 million, then it's 8 million, and yet I think in all the stories that I've been around as a broadcaster, you certainly longer than myself, I don't know if there's been a tougher story or one that affects the entire country the way that it has.
Everybody has been on that bus. Everybody in Canada, male or female, whether you played sports or not, if you were in the band, you were on that bus someplace. You live in Ontario, you went from Sarnia to London for a band concert or a hockey game or a baseball game. Everybody in Canada at one time or another has been on that bus. And that's what's drawn everybody together. It's a shared experience. Billy Keane, who's the head coach of the Winnipeg Blues in the Manitoba Junior Hockey League, and I were having kind of a long conversation, and we were both having trouble keeping the tears back.
Yeah.
And as Billy said, I've been on that bus half of my life since 1982. There but for the grace of God.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that feeling. I mean, even if you never played a sport, you took a bus to the casino in Niagara Falls once. Like, everybody knows what it's like. You turn your life over to the traffic and the bus driver. And the fact that it doesn't happen more often than it did, I think maybe shocked some people. It was just such a horrendous accident. And the other thing is, it's kids. These are children. I mean, people forget that hockey players playing junior hockey are 16 to 20. I mean, this isn't a bunch of old guys drinking beer. These are children, and it just rips your guts out.
Yeah, and I think it really did.
And I think everybody in Canada can relate to what happened. Last night, going up the elevator with Cassie Campbell, we didn't talk about hockey. We talked about the Humboldt Broncos. And the only thing that pulls it all together is hockey. The reality is these are young men, children, and a young woman who died, and everybody really had a bad day yesterday when the young trainer passed away. Dana Bronze. It's just like, it's just so hard to understand and to put your head around. I'm starting to tear up now. I can't fathom it, and I can't fathom the feeling for the families.
No, yeah, it's almost to a part where
as Coach Billy Keane said to me, you know that in the Saskatchewan League, they're right behind the bus. The moms and dads and billet families are right behind the bus.
Yeah,
they weren't far behind.
Yeah,
like, they came up on this.
The emotion that, because as the stories and the details continue to come out, you get these very emotional moments with you talk about the billets who call them their sons, quote unquote, their sons, and
yes, of course,
these candles that come out and farewell to my sons, I'll never see you. Like, it's just, it's going to take a long time, I think, and not just the community of Humboldt, but I think the hockey community in general. This is something that is going to take a while to actually heal. And to that extent, I think the hockey community should be credited, Scotty. It's something that sometimes doesn't get talked about a whole bunch. But from coast to coast, and I'd say, south of the border, I've seen, certainly some talk of that as well. But the hockey community in Canada has been really incredible. And maybe surprising, I don't want to say surprisingly, like I feel that they wouldn't reach out, but the job that they've done, the way that community has come together, I think that they should be commended because they've been excellent.
Yeah, But didn't you always get the feeling that it was going to be that way?
I think
I never
so.
doubted for a second.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody said to me earlier that they had like $16,000 in the GoFundMe, and they said, won't NHL players come to put money into that? And lo and behold, within like 3 hours of that conversation, you were at 1 million, and the entire Montreal Canadiens team had pledged.
Yeah. No.
I mean, here I go. I'm having trouble again. It's just
it is that kind of story, and I think it's going to be a while, once it said, Scotty, to be able to talk about this kind of issue and not feel that way. It might take years. It might take years, and I think for a community like Humboldt, look, they're flatlanders. These are the most resilient people that I've met, and going across the prairies. I mean, my heart just goes out to them. But I'm telling you what, they're the kind of people that will want, like as some of their teammates said. And those that were able to even make it to the hospital said, you got to go out and play again. You got to play. And that's the Saskatchewan way.
What about the kid who was paralyzed and said he's going to play?
Yeah. Truly remarkable. Well, Scotty, thank you so much for joining us. I just, as I said, it means so much that you're able to join us on the show again. We're going to do it on a regular basis. And as we get a little closer, maybe a little CFL talk, a little football.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait.
Yeah.
Not only will Winnipeg have the Northern League Baseball, not Northern League anymore, the American Association Baseball Championship in town, the Jet Stanley Cup.
Yep.
But the Grey Cup is coming here next year.
Okay.
City of Champions, right, Scotty?
City of Champions.
Matt Nichols.
Yeah, there you
Matt
go.
Nichols.
Yeah. Hey, Scotty, thanks so much. We'll talk to you again soon. You take care, my friend.
Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, guys. Go Jets, go. See you later. Go Leafs, go. Bye.
Bye-bye.
That is the one and only Scott Taylor. And
What? Did we just become best friends? Yep.